caucus session. I have a couple thoughts I want to start with. I think one is a comment about what the role of the Planning Commission is. I think it's important to remind everyone, ourselves, the staff, and the public, that we are fundamentally and basically a recommender to other bodies, whether that may be the administration or city council for action. We have very little power within our purview to make a decision and make it stick. So I just keep that in mind. Our job is to review presentations and information in light of adopted city policy, the comprehensive plan, and other instruments of city policy. Secondly, I want to address conduct at the meeting. I think it's important that everyone, from commissioners to presenters to staff, conduct themselves in a professional manner. It's important to let speakers talk and make their point without jumping on or badgering them. I just think that civility and civility is a good way to approach your conduct at a meeting. And so we'll look forward to conducting ourselves in that fashion. Do other members have any other thoughts?
I mean, I would add, as far as our role, I think one of the most important opportunities is for us to serve as a forum for the public to voice their concerns. You know, when something goes before City Council with our recommendation, or without it for that matter, in many instances there's been at least one hearing or presentation to this body where the public is welcome to offer comments, engage with it, and I think that this is obviously a good forum for a lot of that discussion, because one of the things we are empowered to do is to add some conditions or I guess some riders, if you will, to approvals and whatnot. And I think this is a great way for a lot of the public concerns to be, for us to incorporate those sooner rather than it getting to a point where we've made a recommendation, it's, you know, gets into some of the, I guess, further along in the process. So I just want to encourage, I guess, more of the public that this is a great forum for people to voice their concerns and to engage in the process early on rather than having to wait until something gets to City Council for that.
Could agree more. Thank you. Carl or Dan? Yeah. No? If there being no other comments, then we'll proceed with the meeting.
I had one, sorry, I had one item beyond that. There have been a couple conversations regarding the alternatives for the Planning Commission. I believe we can have up to 2 alternates.
Right.
I guess Jackie or Cooper, I don't know what the process is for us kind of soliciting those, but I think it would be helpful to bring in some of those alternates. I think the more people we can obviously engage in the process and, you know, help fill potential vacancies or absences would be beneficial. Is there anything that we need to do to get that process of soliciting, you know, applicants for alternate roles, or is that currently happening? I guess, can you speak to some of that?
Yes, we can have 2 alternate members. We have been communicating with the administration about the need for 2 alternate members, and the process is underway. we're seeking candidates. There's a rolling application, though. Anybody's welcome to apply at any time and be considered for those spots, but we're hoping to get those appointed pretty soon.
Fantastic. Thank you.
We, we could use some diversity in that objective.
Yes. Couldn't agree more either. I agree with that. Thank you.
I have a few comments. First, to the duties, powers, and of the Planning Commission, the way that the enabling language is very strong. The way that the enabling language is currently is about 2 sentences for the Planning Commission. I believe it's Article 155. And just over the last couple of days, we've been working on expanding that enabling language, and it's in review at the moment with the solicitor. It really goes through the powers and duties of the Planning Commission and is consistent with the Municipal Planning Code. So that will hopefully be reviewed, and then we'll go in front of City Council to expand the language a bit more. Most of our boards and authorities and commissions have at least a page to 3 pages of language around the establishment of the board, and usually the membership and that type of thing is reserved for the bylaws. So we kept some of that out, and it's already in our bylaws, and it's also consistent with the Municipal Planning Code. So just wanted to give you a little update on that. I don't know if that has ever been drafted differently or revised since it's instated. Also, I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about the housing bill. You had asked last meeting about that, and just did some more reading around it as it pertains to planners and in terms of locality or municipal government, how the changes would affect us. Sat in through some webinars on that. Essentially, this bill is, it focuses mainly on regulatory changes. So things like streamlining environmental reviews or providing more flexibility and incentives around things like manufactured housing, or things like in terms of new incentives for CDBG competition, things like that. It's more regulatory at the moment. There's no appropriation behind it. So for planners, I think the change really is preparing for these changes at the moment and what that's going to look like at the municipal level. There are some new funding streams that are part of the bill, but again, there's no appropriation behind it. We know of a $200 million innovation fund, funding for technical assistance that's part of the bill. There's also changes to the CDBG in terms of if you're one of the high-cost communities that receive this type of funding, essentially there'll be a competition run over time with those communities, that if you have an increase in housing production, then you'll get more funding, which it doesn't function in that way right now. So there's an incentive to do things faster, to do things to encourage communities to move towards these reforms. But in terms of, I think really what we're seeing is that there's going to be more flexibility, and that right now we need to prepare ourselves locally for what is to come. And so, it's not like the end-all, be-all, that there's still a lot of lobbying to do in terms of the funding and appropriation behind the bill. So there's a lot of information on the APA website that I could send out to you that talks specifically how it's impacting planners and the world in which we live in. So.
Do you know if there's anything at the state level in kind of parallel related discussions? Because obviously we are constrained by what the state allows, unlike Philadelphia. But we are constrained by some of the, obviously, zoning or building standards that we're able to adjust because of the way the laws are written in Pennsylvania. Do you know if there's any conversation about the changes, adoption of anything that also moves it forward? Because obviously while the federal stuff's great, we're still constrained at the state level then.
Yeah,
puts us in a tough spot.
I know there's been discussion about revising the MPC. I know our governor has talked about that. And there's certain things about building codes within the bill, single stair. There was some other things in there about building codes. I'm not sure, Cooper, if you remember, but about flexibility. But at the state level, I haven't, other than the revision of the MPC and having some template zoning and saldos for communities to be able to use in their own communities. But nothing further than that.
They've been all busy trying to pass the budget, I guess. So.
Is there anything else that I can try to answer on the new building code?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments before we move on? Cooper, will you read the roll, please? Call the roll.
Chair Rich Spiker,
Here?
Vice Chair Douglas Bizarni,
Here.
Commissioner Carl Anderson,
Here.
Commissioner Colin Russ,
Here.
Commissioner Jason Wazorek,
Here.
Bureau Chief Jacqueline Spry, and Staff Liaison Cooper Moore. I'm here.
Thank you. First item on the agenda for today is approval of the July 21st, 2026 meeting minutes as distributed. Have they been read?
Yep, I'll move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and to approve and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is public comment and correspondence. Does anybody want to make a general discussion or comment to the Planning Commission? I see no one coming forward. Correspondence. Cooper, is there anything we received?
We have not received any official correspondence.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Carl.
I'd just like to add for the record, if we could call this correspondence, that today we received when we came in a packet from Mr. Ed Kissel, longtime advocate for the community and president of the Sons of Lake Erie, and he did provide quite an extensive amount of information to us, and I think that should be recognized for the record. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good afternoon, Board. Ed Kissel. Is Scott's project going to be discussed at this meeting, or am I?
Yes. No, it's on the agenda. We'll get to it. So
Okay,
you don't.
then I will save my comments to then.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, old business, Erie outside adoption. Any comments about where that stands?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would just like to recognize all the work that's been done by the staff, particularly the planning director, and the long list of community partners that have been involved in putting this together. I think the community should recognize the work and the effort that they've done. Thank you.
Thank you. I would agree. Is there anything we need, any action we need to take?
We are asking for a recommendation to City Council for them to formally adopt the plan.
Okay.
I will make the motion to recommend adoption
I'll
to City
second.
Council.
We have a motion and a second to recommend adoption to City Council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Motion carries. Thank you. On to new business. Subdivision. First item is regarding the Front Street Extension, road dedication, major subdivision submitted by Porter Consulting Engineers for preliminary approval.
Good afternoon. Ashley Porter and Jake Yatzko from Porter Consulting Engineers here representing our clients, the Erie Western Pennsylvania Port Authority and the Erie Convention Center Authority in this subdivision and dedication plan. This is a relatively complex plan and it covers a number of issues. Our firm initially was involved with this project in the construction of West Front Street Extension, which was completed in 2023. In that work, as well as the very adjacent Bayfront Parkway work, the lands were conveyed from the railroad to PennDOT and to the Port Authority. And for the longest time, that wasn't accurately represented at the county level in the map room. So we started working with the county to get those parcels accurately represented. In the work with the West Front Street Extension construction, it was initially, during that design, intended that the roadway be dedicated to the city of Erie. However, during the design, the road right-of-way wasn't defined. So we have now, through this plan, defined the road right-of-way that extends from the east on State Street westward across the Port Authority property to then the Convention Center Authority property and ends on Sassafras. So that right-of-way dedication is covered in this plan from both the Convention Center Authority and the Erie Western Pennsylvania Port Authority to the city of Erie. We worked closely with the city as well. This plan also represents a subdivision of the parcel where the market house will set, because the road right-of-way divides that land into two parcels. So we properly describe that and dedicate it on this plan as well. It also includes the consolidation of 6 lots that were severed by the construction of West Front Street across the Port Authority property. So there are lots that extended from the bay, the West Canal Basin, to the Parkway, and they were cut in two by the road West Front Street Extension that was constructed. So on the south side of that roadway were 6 remnant parcels, little pieces of land that we have now, at the request of the city and the county, consolidated into a single lot that runs from the western edge of the Port Authority property along the southern edge of West Front Street and the northern edge of the Bayfront Parkway, and then terminates on its eastern end in Wolverine Park. So those items, the consolidation of those parcels for the Port Authority, the subdivision of the Convention Center Authority land, and the dedication of a right-of-way across the Port Authority property and the Convention Center property are what are subject to this plan. Yes. So,
A lot going
we've
on.
done that many times over the last many years, so
Yeah.
we finally arrived at that end.
So this is largely just kind of doing some housekeeping, cleaning up historical records, simplifying things a little bit. It doesn't necessarily have a immediate impact on the Bayfront or the Bay House market development type thing or any of that existing property. Is just kind of cleaning things up and simplifying.
It's really cleaning that up is what it's doing, so that there aren't, on the Port Authority property, there aren't 6 very small unusable parcels. It was made sense from a record-keeping perspective to wrap those all into one. So while it's an odd-shaped piece of property, it consolidates 6 odd-shaped pieces of property into one.
The road already largely exists. Is this 100% existing condition of drawing right now?
I'm sorry?
The way this is drawn, I know most of this is already built down there, but this is 100% existing conditions as far as the road goes?
Yeah, yes, this is record conditions of the existing roadway, and even to the point where we walked this with the city officials to make sure we included what was city and what was Port Authority property.
But this is the permanent final solution that we think we're leaving for generations, is 2 roads right next to each other?
Yeah, yes. It's a permanent
So if
solution to
somebody determined this is the highest and best use was to put a road next to another road?
of the road itself.
Yeah.
Well, there was always a road here. The design was a partnership between the City of Erie, the Convention Center Authority, the Port Authority, and the uses of.
I mean, there was a putt-putt course there too at one point. So
There was.
I know there was a way around there, but we don't have a working master plan that's effective, but for all of us to think that the highest and best use of that property is a road next to a road instead of something that people can go, it seems.
The use of Wolverine Park itself is prescribed, so that public parking area, which is unmetered and free, is a prescribed use with the, as well.
I
as-
just had always envisioned that access road as being temporary and a workaround for the Parkway project. So it's just kind
No,
of
everything that-
sad to hear that this is going to be there forever like that.
No, everything within Wolverine Park and from the West Front Street between that and the Bayfront Parkway are permanent and intended.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a great thing. I mean, look at that. Whereas if I wanted to walk down there, I can't, right? You have to be in a car.
Oh, there's the sidewalk.
Yeah, the walkways.
I mean, we can envision great public spaces that are charming and exciting and vibrant, but instead it's a road next to a road.
Well, and ultimately, if I'm understanding your question, ultimately, Wolverine Park, when West Front Street was initially constructed, just in 2023, the walkway connected. It's been disconnected now for the construction.
Yeah.
Will be reconnected as part of the permanent construction. I can't see exactly
Yeah.
what you're looking at.
No, that's, what happens to the parcels north of the subject
Yeah.
roadway?
So those will remain to keep the parcel numbers they had. They were assigned parcel numbers originally. What the problem, and so they'll remain because they're cut up by the road. What was question was, we had the same parcel number
Right.
subdivided by the roadway and cleaning up the southern ones are what this resulted
Okay,
in.
so
Yes,
there's still 6 of those
correct.
former water lots or
Correct,
combination of
which
whatever they used
which
to
are
be.
Port Authority parcels.
Right,
And there's ongoing planning and consideration of what that ultimate use will be. Currently, of course, it supports a Gem Center Marina and Wolverine
Yeah.
Park Marina, but ultimately, that'll be subject to planning and development of the Port Authority.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
to the point of Commissioner Wazorek, in the past, essentially that access road was in essence a driveway back to some of the businesses that are aligned along the West Bayfront there, just west of Wolverine Park. And if people knew the area, you could drive through the dirt road to get up to the parking lot and then out to State Street,
Yes.
if you've spent time on the Bayfront. Yeah, but now that has become permanently all connected together,
Yes.
not as a driveway anymore back to those buildings, but as an actual road to those buildings and then through to State Street.
Yes, that's correct. And as you mentioned, those of us who traveled that area, it was a shortcut on the northern side of the Bayfront. You could always get through that. It's been now made formal. It does have permanent and sustainable walkways and bikeways, lighting that connects all the way from State Street to Sassafras Street now. So it's being made a formal roadway with driveway access to the yacht club and to the Gem City areas for those parcels.
Mr. Chairman, also, and it is very unfortunate that the putt-putt course that was there for so many years and so successful was removed in that process. And there may be other putt-putt courses that have sprung up, but certainly nothing to the capacity that was there before and well-maintained for the people of this community. So that's an unfortunate situation.
I understand.
But certainly the parking area has been, I guess, more stabilized by the paving and the work that's been done. And we will then, as you are suggesting, reconnect walking access through that area. Is that correct?
Correct.
So for the purposes of this, I think our focus is on the preliminary approval of kind of the housekeeping items of it, which obviously I think makes sense. But obviously there's a larger discussion here regarding the street planning piece of it. And I think to your point during the public caucus, if perhaps it makes sense for us to have some discussion regarding how the streets piece of it fits into or fits with the Planning Commission, so that there's some, I guess, openness or clarity with the public and with what we're charged to do concerning how decisions about permanent streets or other related street topics kind of fit in with planning. So perhaps that's something we can look into as we seek to clarify and better define the commission's role.
If I can jump on that real quick, we have a master plan that we're supposed to be administering called Erie Refocused. It's not the best master plan, but it's what we have right now. It identifies the intersection of State and the Bayfront Highway as one of the most important intersections in our community. Can you think of a more important one? I can't. But it also lays out several pages in that document that this area should be completely kind of transformed into a Seattle-like waterfront. And I feel like you're just carrying the water of the redevelopment or the Port Authority. I get that in the moment, but when I step back and think of Erie Refocused, but we're way off target for what we're supposed to be doing here with this intersection. So I just want to highlight that I think we've drifted away from Erie Refocused. If that plan is going to be redone at some point, then this area needs to be rethought. Port Authority has their own effort right now to redo their master plan, and I think it's important that the most important intersection in our community has vibrant public spaces around it, not redundant roads that are parallel to each other. Just doesn't feel like the highest and best use. That's not your objective here, I know that. I feel like it's our job, though, to be filtering through Erie Refocused.
Erie Refocused represents the city's adopted an official plan, and so we have every right to review proposals in relationship to that. It's not granular enough, I don't think, to get to this level. It's perhaps one of its criticisms you could make of it. I just, it's, like it or not, this is where we are. It is a fait accompli.
Yeah, so the planning and how the road was designed, many years ago is beyond my knowledge.
inherited.
Yeah.
We're trying to, or we are now trying to clean up and dedicate and appropriately document what's there.
I know your client is probably watching, and they can listen and hear our opinions.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, so the City of Erie does have a road dedication process. And again, per the MPC, it is your job as the Planning Commission to hear these applications when they come in. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're upholding the comprehensive plan in this respect. We've worked with Porter Consulting through this application process. The city has gone through the checklist and the requirements that are within the application, and they have met all of those requirements. Part of the reason that we have asked for the road dedication and also the subdivision is because of stormwater and also zoning. So if the market house goes on this parcel, it has to comply with setbacks, with the gross square footage of the property. And so it comes before the Planning Commission per the MPC, and for there to be any obviously a public hearing, but to also make sure that it's in compliance with what the requirements are of the application. And as it stands here today, it does comply, and the city is approving of this road dedication.
Just to clarify, as it stands with respect to the Market House, if this were not approved, would there be issues on that zoning?
The zoning changes because if the parcels were not combined, the zoning changes because it may not meet the setbacks.
And
So,
that's
yes.
my question. So we approved something that did not in fact meet the current zoning requirements.
But it was contingent upon this subdivision. Oh, it did meet. I'm sorry.
So
It did meet? The land development did meet it. Okay.
okay, I'm just confused now.
So
That's a main issue. I
we
think.
combined the parcels.
The
You were-
subdivision was made at the request of the city to clean up those issues, and that was several months ago.
It doesn't affect the zoning.
Market
of-
house.
Market house of any
Yeah,
of that.
that's our understanding, and the
Okay,
purpose
that's-
for this
that's all I
was
wanted
to
to-
clear that up, yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry.
My
mistake.
recollection from the Market House approval is that it was, the proposed location was the south end of an existing parking lot.
Which is what this is, correct?
Yeah, and that this road, and at that time we approved it, it was contingent because this dedication subdivision had not occurred yet.
Yes.
And so,
Yes, and this plan includes the conclusion of that issue.
okay. Thank you.
That's, I wanted to make sure, because we've been having these discussions for
Yes.
some
Yeah.
time to make sure we're
I
on
think
the right
initially,
page here.
I think initially when the zoning review was done, there was some concern that it wouldn't comply and it wouldn't meet the zoning, but your approval was passed for the Market House.
Well,
The,
our client.
Yes.
The Convention Center Authority was not our client for the Market House.
That's
The Port
right.
Authority is our client. The reason the Convention
That's
Center Authority is our client on this project is because the roadway extended through their property,
Right.
which had been constructed in 2023. And we were requested then, as part of the dedication plan, to include that as a
Right,
subdivision.
and these were happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
Right, but at the recommendation of the city from engineering and also from zoning, they had recommended to you to combine those parcels and clean up that area since
That's
much of
correct.
the bayfront is parceled out in
Yes.
that way. Okay.
Yes, it was very desirous of the city to
Yes.
clean up these parcels that we've talked about, including the Market House, with the dedication of the roadway. And as I mentioned, when the roadway was designed, it was designed in cooperation with all the entities. However, the dedication had not been defined at the front end, and here we are at this time making a dedication.
I would have, I guess, two observations. One is that it seems to me this is out of order in the sense that processing that we should not have considered or deferred consideration of the Market House until this was in a position to proceed. And
That's where I was going with my
I
question.
mean, not your issue, maybe a little bit the staff's issue, but I think that we need to work to make sure that we now, and going forward, get things in the right order.
Yes, so with that being said, our first reading being today,
Yep.
our second reading being the next Planning Commission meeting, which
Right.
is, I believe, when the final Planning Commission reading for the Market House.
Right.
So
Right.
those will be coincidental in the same meeting.
All right.
So I will move for preliminary approval. Make a motion for preliminary approval.
I'll
of it.
second, but Mr. Chairman, I have a
Sure.
comment before we take a vote. You mentioned that this is coincidental, and since it did end up becoming a situation that's backwards from where everybody here on the Planning Commission thinks this should have been brought forward, it was perhaps initially not intended to be a permanent road. It was an access road to make it possible to do the construction and still have access. But it's actually become a traffic diverter for the convention center, in addition to being able to have access to the businesses that are there. And is that part of what is envisioned with its permanency and the dedication as we move forward, is the alleviation of that traffic coming out of the Convention Center Authority, or coming out of the Convention Center?
Again, not being involved in the initial design, I can't speak to that directly. I will say that it will certainly be used as traffic bypass in that instance. It's a permanent roadway. There's, not limitations on it. It accesses those properties. I believe the intent is that the roundabout, the parkway design is the primary, focus of traffic. However, again, the design preceded our involvement, and I can only postulate on how it'll be used.
As a request for staff, could we make some inquiries just to understand, I guess, more of the context around this road as to what led it to go from presumably being a temporary workaround to becoming a permanent auxiliary road or redundant road, whatever you want to call it. I think it'd just be helpful, I think there's a bigger, as I said before, a bigger conversation that needs to be had regarding the streets piece, but I think it'd just be helpful for us to know in a future meeting, and we can move forward with this piece of it today.
Yeah, I mean, I will note that I believe it's a requirement for subdivision in the city that you cannot have landlocked parcels accessible only by, without access to a public right-of-way. And if this road weren't here, given the design of the the interchange and everything with State Street, that it would not be possible to use access, to gain access from the Bayfront Parkway to any of the parcels along that area. And so I think that's,
And I will say, since our involvement, I've not ever been aware that this was intended as a temporary. You know, from the concept of the design that we were involved with, this was always intended, once constructed, to be a permanent roadway.
Yeah, I mean, it very well could just be a messaging issue.
Yeah.
I think there was a general perception that perhaps it was. It may not have ever been that way, but
Probably because of the design of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally touches the Bayfront Highway, so it seems to be, it would be more effective if it was pushed north or something.
I think, I think this is a discussion we need to
You shouldn't-
get into in the future. 'Cause it's
You shouldn't
just
be able
all-
to jump from one road to another and not be at an intersection.
Mr.
It's a local
Chairman,
access road, sorry.
yeah.
yeah, no, go ahead.
It's a local access road that just runs alongside essentially a throughway. Like, that's commonplace in many other cities, where this is local access between certain buildings, certain businesses on the bayfront, and then you have the Bayfront Connector, which is essentially a throughway that passes on our bayfront. If anything, this is the road we should be prioritizing over the bayfront.
It's similar to a marginal access roadway that
Yeah.
you have connecting parcels parallel to any main highway.
You only need to go to Cleveland or Buffalo or Pittsburgh to be caught in the spaghetti.
That doesn't mean it's the optimal solution, it's highest and best use.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, I'll continue to make second the motion.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? If not, all those in favor of forwarding
Aye.
this to council,
Aye.
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 say aye. Any opposition? There being none, the motion carries. Thank
Appreciate
you.
the vote and discussion.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay. Item B, under new business, land development. Harbor Place, AC Marriott, major land development submitted by Sanford Surveying and Engineering for final approval. Someone from Sanford?
Yes,
online?
this is Mike Sanford with Sanford Surveying and Engineering here on behalf of the project.
Thank you.
And let me just get my notes here, one second. So I'll just kind of go through a few items here and then can answer any questions you may have. But project is for a new hotel at Harbor Place. And the details of the project were discussed at the May Planning Commission meeting, and at which time the preliminary land development plan was approved by City Planning Commission. Just a few highlights on the project. The project, this new hotel, will be served by public water. It'll certainly be served by public sanitary sewer. We do have off-street parking provided for the new hotel and the other uses on the property. We do have our NPDES stormwater permit that is in place, which addresses stormwater runoff water quality. And since the time the Planning Commission approved the preliminary land development plan in May, a few things have occurred. The subdivision plan that was approved at your May meeting has now since been recorded. And of course, our final land development plan was submitted, which is before you today. The city engineer office did have a few review comments on the plan, which we resolved with resubmittals to the city engineer office in both June and July. So city engineer comments have been addressed. And it's my understanding our plan meets all the city requirements, and so we look forward to your approval today.
What were the comments
you.
from engineering?
I have those right here. One second. She wanted confirmation on the sewage, what we call sewage facilities planning, and so I provided that to her. We had a sewage approval that was approved prior to her becoming engineer. So she asked for some more information on the sewage planning, which I provided her. We also have an understanding with the city engineer about the floodplain in the area. There is a portion of this, on the eastern side of this property that is in a floodplain, but that would be filled. And then we would do the proper permitting with FEMA after the fill has been placed. That's the process here. Then she asked me to fill out a floodplain fill application, which I did. I didn't realize the city had an application, so we did fill that out. Mr. Scott signed it and submitted it. She also wanted confirmation from the Conservation District regarding the floodplain fill, which the Conservation District provided that assurance to her. She asked me regarding the traffic, how many trips or how many traffic vehicles there would be in both the AM peak hour and the PM peak hour, and we provided those to her. She asked me about grading of the project, how it would be graded, and she wanted an assurance that the grading would not exacerbate any runoff to any adjoining properties. So we provided that to her. She also asked about, just looking at my note here. Oh, she asked about the ownership and maintenance of the stormwater system. In this particular project, the vast majority of the stormwater piping on the property is privately owned and therefore privately maintained by the Scotts, with exception to one singular storm sewer that runs north-south along the west side of the Maritime Museum. It is on Mr. Scott's property, but it's in a city easement, and so that one storm sewer is in an easement, and that is a city-maintained storm sewer. So I did confirm that with her as well. She had some questions on the water quality calculations, because those were approved prior to her becoming engineer, so we provided those to her. She wanted me to add the diameters and the flow arrows for the sanitary sewers on the project and the storm sewers, which we added those for her as well. She wanted a stormwater, what we say O&M agreement, operation and maintenance agreement. And that just is a document, city document, that says that Mr. Scott understands he needs to maintain his stormwater piping. And so we did submit that signed document to her as well. She also asked about the various tax parcels down here. There is a whole myriad of small tax parcels. With the subdivision plan that you folks approved back in May, we consolidated 3.5 tax parcels together to make the tax parcel the new hotel would sit on. Her question was, are these other little pieces and parts of tax parcels going to be consolidated? And I explained to her that they would not. We were just consolidating the ones for what we call Lot 2, where the second hotel would be. So we did resolve all of her comments, and I believe she sent Cooper an email saying she was satisfied.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I'd like to compliment this layout. I know that Front Street is already there, but it's really easy to get the site layout more effectively designed when you push the road up 100 yards or so. And we know the master plan has it looks geometrically in a schematic form to be a nice building that we anticipate at that corner in the future. So just complimenting that this one was able to accomplish what I was pointing out is not as tight to each other for the road placements. I think it's more appropriate layout and use of infrastructure.
You can thank Penelec for that.
But proof of concept that this is
Yeah.
possible.
Other comments prior to further consideration? Doug, anything?
I have none.
Arlo, anything?
No, I have none at this time.
Is there any public comment? Mr. Kissel.
Thank you. I'd like to comment from the beginning on this project, on this land. I believe it started off with about 12 acres. Am I right on that? I know some of it's in the water. I'm asking the engineer.
I don't have the exact acreage, Ed, but it's in that vicinity of 8, 9, 10 acres, something in that vicinity.
And
Some north of Front Street and some south.
yeah, and 5 acres is on the north side of Front Street, and 4 acres are on the back side going towards Hammett Hospital.
That sounds about right.
Okay. Back in, well, it's been involved in this since 1999, but back on 11/27 of 13, we were shown plans for this overall project by the developer. And in those diagrams, which the board has before them, which you don't have, there were different things that were shown. And I would use the word promise to the citizens of Erie. And they consisted of some public parks. And those public parks were put in an agreement between the city of Erie. It was a business plan on April 20th, 17, submitted by Mayor Joe Sennett with a grantee, Scott Enterprises, for $5 million. And the city was to be the physical administrator in collaboration with the Scotts. And in that agreement, which the president of the planning authority has, there were 7 parks mentioned in this project to get the attention of the citizens and myself. And they are located on page 4 of the plans that I gave to the board members. That was under a RACP, Redevelopment Assistance Capital Program, grant from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Office of the Budget. And the state accepted that with that information in it. So the hotel got built. It's been 6 years, and there are no parks set aside for the public. I'm not talking parks with sliding boards and things of that, just a place where people can come and relax, or a picnic table or a bench could be involved in that. So time went by, and then on the Harbor Place illustration plan, another one on 11/27, again presented public view of a layout of the complete complex, and that is in my Exhibit 3, that is according with the package. And then we go on to Exhibit 4, which the map shows a previous layout of the parks. One being very standing outright is the half acre that is shown down along the water's edge to the north of the property. That was one of the biggest ones because it was right at the water, not the water's edge, because there's about an 18-foot walkway that fortunately has been put in for 50 years. That was abandoned in regards to a putt-putt golf course. And the Scotts needed or asked for about 10 foot of a Port Authority property that was right adjacent to that. And the Port Authority leased it to them for $6,600 a year. No public access or no public parks were put in on any of these. The next half-acre lot that was shown for a public park was basically where the beer bar is, and that was never put in. Now, we're talking the north side, we're talking $5 million that was granted to the city of Erie to administer. Now, I doubt if the board ever knew anything about these particular plans because of the history of them. Now, as time went by, I testified up here that I'm not against his doings. I'm against, you can ask me a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Against what is shown as a carrot to the public to keep approving these projects until now we have the land development. And at this time, I would ask the Planning Commission to put in under special conditions the obligations and the $5 million that he got on the first project. He is now getting $7.6 million under the CRIZ program, which I hope Planning Commission knows what that is, but if not, it's a program that's been explained a number of times. On the second hotel, he's got the $7,600,000. He's also got a $200,000 low public loan on that. That is part of that. And that's on the second hotel. Now, it's close to $13 million for these two hotels, and the public has gotten nothing in return for that effort in everybody's briefing that they've heard. So I would like to present to the committee those particular plans, and I would ask that the planning committee not recommend any more advancement until the parks are identified on the property that has now been listed. Not on some other property out on the Holland Street Pier, but on these 9 acres that are in place. Now, some of the arguments from the Scots will be that PennDOT took some property to the south for the Bayfront Parkway re-up, and they paid them $253,000 for that property. That is the property that is shown on one of those diagrams I gave you at the southern end of the existing parking lot to put parking garages in. So that is another thing. The hotel is supposed to have 140 rooms. The rooms they asked for were reduced in zoning to have parking for only about 79 places. So that ends up taking some of the green space away, I believe. And on the plans, the green space over to the west of their project is going to be expanded to parking. And that green space on that one diagram that I show you there will take up the State Street side, in my opinion, on front. It's now, I don't like to call it a dog park, but people walk their dogs there. It's a nice green area. But just north of that on that map, it shows a remaining green space that he shows for the expansion of the beer garden in a westerly direction. And that, in my opinion, will eliminate the only nice viewing area of the East Canal Basin and Presque Isle Bay in that particular area. Now, maybe the engineer can tell me, did someone draw lines, yellow lines on the property at the layout of the hotel?
I'm not sure what you mean by yellow lines. I don't know. What does that mean?
Yellow chalk lines. Instead of white, they're yellow.
No. My survey guys hasn't done any painting on the ground or chalk line, no.
Well, I have pictures of it. But anyway, I measured those particular things. And once the new hotel sets in there, there's very little space of green on either side of that. And on the eastern side of it, you go about 30 feet and you hit the slope of the land that goes towards the library and museum complex where the roadway goes down through there. So I would ask the planning committee again to seriously look at what has been prevented and delay and/or make a recommendation to city council that those parks be placed in strategic places or using the large green area remaining by the beer tent as a public entity per what he has pledged in these diagrams that a lot of the people in the city said, well, yes, if we can get these are fine. But not one has been done since 2017 when the plans were submitted. The hotel was built in 2020, and all that has happened down there is taking a public land and converting it to the business that he wants to do on there, which I have no problem with him doing certain things, but using the lands that were used as a carrot for the public to support this, I do have a problem with. Also,
Well, Ed, I mean, we can't talk about this, go on, have you go on forever. I want to just note that I don't believe it was ever, Mr. Scott ever agreed that the public, what you call parks, would become public property. There would be spaces that could be dual use between the public would have access to. It's
in the business plan, that was submitted by the city and the mayor stating the 7 parks. It wasn't done by Ed Kissel. And why the commissions, the zoning hearing boards, would not look at this and say, hey, this is an agreement. You got $5 million for it, and you didn't do anything.
I've never seen that document.
Yeah, can we get I'd like to read that.
You have, Rich has a copy. I left a copy here 2 months ago when I came thinking the hearing was
You
back
took that
then.
back.
Pardon?
You took it back, Ed. You took
I
everything
took it back that day? Well, you have a complete copy there
No, I don't.
of everything. You should have the business plan as Exhibit 1.
I put it here, you took it back.
Yeah, I don't think we have everything that you're describing.
I'm sorry about that, because I thought...
Cooper, can you confirm, or I guess provide any insight as to whether or not all, I guess, obligations on the Scots part have or have not been upheld and met for what you're proposing at this point? Is there anything outstanding that was promised, or I guess perhaps Solicitor can weigh in? Is there anything outstanding in terms of what was promised? Any conditions, agreements made type of thing that are or are not being met or upheld?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. As the solicitor, my understanding of what Mr. Kissel said, Mr. Kissel has been very consistent. So at the waterfront conditional use hearing in front of City Council roughly 2.5 months ago, he stated a lot of this information. The $5 million grant, to the best of my understanding, was the city was a pass-through from the state for the Scots. It was a RACB grant. The stipulations on the RACB grant are really for the types of materials used in the construction. You have to use a certain percentage of steel that's American-made. You have to have certain safety parameters in place for the construction. So that was the $5 million was towards the construction of the hotel. Now, the business plan, this is my opinion, but the business plan that was submitted for that was just that. It's a business plan. The business plan is not a signed agreement. The assigned agreement that the Scots signed would have been for, yes, we're getting the $5 million, and we are then going to comply with all the building requirements and the components that need to go into the hotel for safety and for the U.S., for American-made steel. And as far as I know, they've complied with all of that. The business plan part of it was just like for any other grant or loan that I submit to the bank or to a federal agency or state agency, is that. And so, as Mr. Kissel said, the parks part of it is, I think, probably what we would call green space. I believe that presently the green space issue has been handled. Now, as part of the waterfront conditional use hearing, which basically was the zoning hearing, but for this project, there were stipulations put into the resolution that City Council adopted in passing the Harbor Place Hotel. And there's a certain amount of green space that's percentaged off. Parks and benches were promised as part of that plan. And that was going to be, and if the Scots don't follow through with that, then would be the code enforcement or zoning would enforce that. So I don't think you gentlemen as a body, as the Planning Commission, have the authority to enforce anything related to the $5 million grant from 2014. Those have all been complied with. That's what I said, $5 million. As for the other conditions, that would be enforced by zoning once everything is completed. So that's my opinion.
We could propose conditions, though.
You could propose stuff, but at the same time, the zoning is done, the amount of acreage, what's been proposed is there. Like Scott's architect said, we're going to be using, certain types of materials that are good for the environment. City Council heard that. Ed Kissel gave public testimony back in April on this. So this is not like to rehash the public hearing. This is for the Saldo, is it correct? Right. So my recommendation to you is if the Scots have met the conditions under the Saldo, then this should be approved. That would be my opinion. As for conditions put on it, if they've met all the requirements, I would ask you to approve it. If they have not met the requirements for the Saldo, then you should say they need to go back to the drawing board and fix whatever is not correct.
And Cooper, can you confirm all have or have not been met?
Yes, everything is compliant and there are no outstanding comments from the city's review. And just to clarify, this project will not be going back in front of City Council. City Council has already approved it earlier this year. The Planning Commission is the final step here.
Do we have a motion? Has someone
Yes,
made a motion? Not yet. No, okay.
Just real quick, I feel like this conversation is, again, pointing us to needing a clear, well-designed master plan for this area. I think that the Scots have taken a direction that's, with the density of the layout and the design, that's admirable. But we as a city have to think of what we want ourselves to look like, what our waterfront looks like, what parts serve what functions. And when I think of our urban core as very linear, it's basically French to sassafras, right? If you extend that urban core to the waterfront, feels like if there's any one place on our waterfront that should have an urban density, it would be these couple of blocks. The rest of the waterfront seems to be more conducive to green space and park space, and we have Presque Isle across the bay and Liberty Park and the linear park. I'm a huge advocate for green space, but if there's a couple of blocks that should be exempt from it, I think it's those that are directly straight north off of our existing urban core, and if that expands per Nick Scott's master plan here, I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think it'd be very helpful if we had a master plan that had a master map or official map, jealous of Mill Creek's official map that says where roads and buildings should go. We don't have that, and we really need it so that the public is clear on where we think we're going, and it should be a living document that changes with generations, and we wouldn't have these discussions every time one of these projects pops up.
You mean I can come in here and offer a planning a big development, going to be open to everybody, and then not do what I'm going to do, what I told you I'm going to do?
It's private property. He owns it. I mean,
That's fine.
Yeah.
There's conditions on our waterfront that took us from 1987 to get in so the public would have at least something. And when the developer goes ahead and tells the public, gets $12 million in building, and that one thing for the public, you show me where one thing for the public has been done down there in the 6 years that the property has been developed, and what is being supposedly promised to be done, and maybe you can change it, but has what Rich told me a couple of months ago, or at the April hearing, don't worry, you'll have a chance to, plead your case when the land development comes in. So this stuff about the benches and all over at the Market House, that's another situation over there. He promised to do 7 parks. He got $5 million for it. Now he's going for, he already got the 7.6. So I think council, ought to look at that, and just so.
I believe council already has looked at it.
Excuse me, I mean, they looked at it and they approved what was done. Now is the time, according to what you told me, Rich, is what's put on paper that something could be discussed.
And here we are in a discussion.
You're saying, or the board is saying, that they agree with what was said and not done from the governor's budget office to the mayor, and the city is mentioned as a physical person.
I have no knowledge of what the city submitted to the state in support of the RACP grant. That is, and my guess is you don't see Mr. Scott's signature anywhere on that document. I also point out that you showed me a letter from the zoning officer at the time where he notes that the city has no authority to obligate the developer when and where specific items will be be provided as part of the development of the site. I mean, it is, and it's only within the last couple of years that this commission has had any role in involving land development approval to any extent, the limited that we have. So we're trying to work our way into a situation where we can make recommendations that reflecting the city's policy and approach to developers.
I think the fact of the matter is that, yes, there's plenty of room for people to have opinions and objections to what is or is not developed on that land. However, it is private property and it does comply with land use and zoning as it exists today. Whether we agree or disagree with that, that's a matter of opinion. But the fact of the matter is that it does check the boxes, it does comply. So, as Solicitor mentioned, we don't really have any grounds to even stand on to impart particular, restrictions beyond what is there at this time. So, to Rich's point, it's only more recently that we have even really been able to come to the table and have some influence and try and drive more green space to try and influence some of the direction decisions being made. But the reality is we are limited in what we can in fact do. Again, this is private property, and they are complying with the land use and zoning.
Mr. Kissel, I'd point out the drawing Cooper's put on the screen there. There's a lot of color on there, and there's a lot of green. If we were to add more green, we either got to take away buildings or parking. As much as I'd like to take away parking, it doesn't let it leave for a functional project.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to ask a couple questions to Mr. Kissel. The solicitor mentioned that the reason, apparently, from a legal standpoint, with your argument with City Council, that the agreement could not be tied together officially is because the one agreement that you outline in this document that we received is a business plan. The other documents are the official executed documents through the city and the state with the developer. So is that the case, Mr. Kissel? What this is a business plan? Is the business plan
It's the
attached to the other documents along with the signature of the mayor, or?
I think if you sign a legal agreement, he's the attorney, I am not. But if you sign an agreement to sell your house and you're not to cut any trees down, and you end up cutting the trees down, and the owner comes in and says, well, what did you do? Well, we didn't like the trees there. The neighbor was complaining, so we cut them down. Is that a legal matter or not? How do you enforce a legal matter if the attorney gives you an opinion that it's a business plan? Well, it's a business plan that becomes a legal document. I think when you get $5 million, you should follow what's in that plan. You can't just say, well, we did this and did that, but the city's name is on that document. So, and the other thing, and I'll close shortly, this was a letter from your zoning officer, Jake Welsh, back on September 19th of 2022. It is important to note that the 2014 Harbor Place conceptual plan was not reviewed or approved by the city zoning officer or the planning commission as an official site plan for the property. While it is acknowledged that the mini golf course was previously shown on the conceptual plan as a public open space, the city does not have the authority to dictate what is developed as such. As previously stated, the specific locations of public open space areas can change as the Harbor Place development progresses, with the caveat that the required square footage of open space must continue to be accommodated for the variance conditions. Okay, so I'm asking, now that you know the plan, where are the parks? There's no parks there. You show me one park there.
We're getting into a matter of
Those are all
semantics
green
here.
areas that are required for the zoning. There's not a park in there. I don't have to look at it. You show me where there's a park.
We're getting into semantics, though, and I absolutely can appreciate your perspective on it, but again, the fact of the matter is they are complying with the green space requirements, and in the letter that you just read, we are unable to dictate where and what those are. So they are complying with the parameters that exist for them to do this development.
And I believe that the plan that has been currently submitted, they've demonstrated compliance with the zoning requirement for green open space. Mr. Puz, is that correct?
I would like them to show me.
Has that been documented, Matt?
I have talked to you personally, the process started before I came on board, but from my understanding, staff has already looked at it and has confirmed that it does comply.
So,
Ed, I can't go to your house and tell you what vegetables to plant in your garden.
If you're buying my house and I chop down the tree, you could. You'd say, maybe I don't want the house anymore.
Nobody's buying a house here, though, so he already owns the
I'm just
land.
using
And
a silly
he's not selling his house.
example.
I know, he's building a new one.
I appreciate the board listening, but you represent the city, and council can ask you questions or look at different variances. I sat as a citizen in that room over there for a year going through with Brenda Sandberg and council on zoning issues and so forth. And that's how I left that 1987, how everything happened. We had hearings here on the public trust and, if you know what water lots are or whatever. I went to too many meetings. This thing you just talked about, Wolverine Park, was deeded to the city in 1943 as a Wolverine Park. The bow was there. It was moved inside. The Historical Society of Pennsylvania got all involved in it. Senator Earl did a Senate bill on it, 122, that gave it back. and so forth and so on. When PennDOT came in to do this road real quick and walkway you just discussed before this, we saved the trees in there, we saved the 50-car parking places in there that were going to be destroyed. And it probably might have been with the help of the board, I don't remember all that. But all I'm saying is that, you know, if a developer comes in here and gives you the pitch and you fall for it without questioning it, and a legal document, I don't have a business plan, it's signed by the budget secretary, by the mayor, and by the Scotts. So-
The business plan can change. He can sell different food at his restaurants, but it's not set in stone.
But if a citizen can't come to you and say to you, you lay all this out and you see it in black and white, I didn't make this stuff up. I did do some of the drawings, but I didn't make up this business deal that is a legal document in my opinion. So I'd like, if you don't need them, I'd like mine back because I got to do the presentation to City Council.
Glad to return them.
Kathy wants to speak.
And I thank you for your time.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your interest. Carl?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kissel, you should be thanked for the care that you've taken for so many years on behalf of the citizens of this community, whether it works out or not.
No.
We know that you're here fighting for this community, and you have been for many, many years.
One of the reasons, I lived only 5 blocks away on 2nd Street. I know this Front Street you were talking about. In fact, if you look at the new State Street going in, back in 52, I can remember when you went down a brick street, and the same layout that they just got done with was the same layout of that bridge when they, over the railroad tracks back then. They tore it out, put the bridge in that was before this. So history is repeating itself in some time. I trespassed to go on the waterfront years and years and enjoyed it for fishing and swimming down here. And I'm just trying to get the people to realize that that water is our magnet. And without that, that's why on the structure of buildings, the smart designs, being able to see things. There's also visual public access versus physical public access. Somebody putting a fence up to block your view of the marinas and all. That's something that shouldn't be allowed, but it got passed, and it happened. So, again, like I say, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Schaaf.
Kathy Schaaf, Erie City Council. I have a few questions for Mr. Sanford if he's able to answer them. Council had talked about benches being provided around the property by the hotels. I was wondering if those are going to be put in?
Yes, this is Mike Sanford. Yes, they will be. On my screen, I can see that Cooper has displayed the landscaping plan. I don't know if you can see that, but on that plan, Weber Murphy Fox does show and label the benches.
Thank you. I need glasses, I think, for that. But thank you. Will there be a 4-way stop by Front and Holland Street?
I am not aware of any changes to traffic patterns. When I provided my information earlier in this call, the traffic engineer city engineer asked me to provide the AM and PM peak hour traffic counts, which I did, and the traffic counts were not high enough to trigger any traffic mitigation. So if the city engineer's office is planning changes, they have not discussed that with me. They could always do that if that's something that they feel internally, but it would not be based on this project. It's not required by this project, but certainly the city engineer can make any changes that they'd like to.
Thank you.
I'm just not aware of any.
Thank you. And what about bird-friendly glass? Will there be bird-friendly glass?
I apologize. I don't have that direct answer. The reason I say that is I was not at the conditional use hearings, but I know that there was a lot of discussion about birds and strikes and different things like that. So I apologize, I don't have a direct answer, but I know that it was discussed at length at the conditional use hearing.
Thank you. And so you have the two hotels going up, and the design shows a canopy above the heads of the people that will be walking on the sidewalk. The sidewalk is a public accessible sidewalk, and at times when you have this canopy over your head, it almost excludes the walking pedestrians in that it only appears that they are going as a part of a customer into the hotels. But the pedestrians would be able to access that sidewalk, correct? Why have a canopy there?
Well, like on the existing hotel, can we talk about the existing hotel and that front canopy? Is that what you're referring to in part?
Well, on the design, it shows the canopy going across to the hotel. I have a picture that shows both.
Like on that, I'm sorry to cut you off. On that drawing there that Cooper's zooming in on, it could be that drawing Cooper as well.
Cooper, do you want to see my picture?
You're the kind of covered walkway between the buildings?
Yeah. It's a covered walkway in between the buildings. That's all public sidewalk, correct?
No, that would be, I think, a private sidewalk that used for drop-off and pickup where cars stop while they go in to register. The public sidewalk borders the right-of-way.
But if I'm at the library and I want to go to State Street down by the dock, I'm walking that sidewalk?
There is a sidewalk that will go the entire length from library to State Street. That's not covered. It's like any other sidewalk. There is a sidewalk related to the hotels that, according to the design you showed, it has a cover over it, but that's used primarily by visitors to the hotel to drop off or to pick up out of the weather.
Okay. I'm just confused because would that public sidewalk then be on the opposite side of the street, or you're having two sidewalks?
The sidewalk, like any city street, they're required to have sidewalks on both sides of the right-of-way. So,
Right.
north and south. Mike?
And Rich, this is Mike Sanford. I'll just throw in something. If you zoom in on that picture a little further, Cooper, you'll see small circles there. Those are the bollards that are out there. So like if you go back to the property this evening, or you look at a Google Street View image, just those bollards follow the arc of that heavy line on there. The heavy line is the city right-of-way line. So basically, if you just think about the bollards, if you walk on the street side of those bollards, you are in the city right-of-way, you're on a city sidewalk. Anything behind those bollards is, like Mr. Spiker was saying, that's really the drop-off and really a private hotel sidewalk. So if you were walking from the Maritime Museum to State Street, as long as you stay on the street side of those bollards, that is a dedicated city sidewalk in the city right-of-way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Ms. Schaaf. Yes, Carl.
I have a question for the engineer. And I have the greatest respect for Mr. Scott and the work that he's done on the Bayfront. But to Mr. Kissel's point, how do you or would the Scotts answer to the providing of the public green space?
Well, that was discussed at length at the conditional use hearings, and that actually is what precipitated that landscaping plan that was before you just, 10, 15 minutes ago, that shows the green areas and the benches that are certainly usable by people. There's no trespassing signs down there at all. Those green areas are there. There'll be benches available, and so that's what I would say.
Okay, I wasn't at those hearings, so I'm not sure what was said, and you're suggesting that you do. So what I'm asking you is, then at those hearings, what was your position, or what was the property owner's position on providing that open space or green space?
Yeah, again, I was not at those hearings either. Those were represented by Weber Murphy Fox. They handled and they prepared that landscaping plan. They handled the conditional use meetings. That plan that you just saw there, the green space plan, grew out of those meetings because there was questions. Where are the benches going to be? Where are the green areas going to be? And that's really what sparked this drawing to be provided. And so
Sorry, I can chime in as well. This is Sarah Ludwig with Weber Murphy Fox. That lawn area between the two hotels, that's where we call it the Oval Park, and that's provided with part of this project, as well as the lawn area to the west of Oliver's Beer Garden and north of that parking lot. So those are both being provided as part of this project.
We have another speaker.
Yes, sir.
Hello, members. My name is Edison Nicholson. I'm with the Youth Leadership Institute of Erie. We're at 1306 East Lake Road. I look at this project and I look at the other various projects that are going on in the city of Erie. And I'm here today to just provide a community-minded statement. I call it a community-minded statement because I want us to be mindful that all of these beautiful infrastructures, all of these beautiful projects that are going up need workers. They need individuals to tend to these infrastructures. And our organization is in the business of helping young people pursue higher education and set career goals for themselves. And so we're in the business of making sure that these young people can actually mine these types of infrastructures that are going up. And I say that because I think we sometimes get left out of the picture. All these, like I said, projects are very well and good for the community, but at the same time, you need someone to man these projects. So what I'm saying is I hope that when we're looking at these types of projects, that someone is taking the time to knock on my door, knock on other individuals' doors that are responsible for helping to maintain or demand these types of infrastructures for the future. I'm hoping that someone would take the time to knock on our door and to conversate with us and to bring us into the fold of how can we help you? How can we help these types of infrastructures stay up and do the work that they're setting out to do?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
A second.
Motion, second. Further discussion? There being none, as I'm an employee of Weber Murphy Fox, I will Abstain? Very quickly.
We're all entitled to time. I was offended that you tried to rush Mr. Kissel off. My name is Freda
He
Tepfer.
talked we gave him extra time.
My name is Freda Tepfer, and I'm really confused by both items that are on the agenda today when the city is engaging in a bayfront plan. Here we are. Could you put the picture up again that you showed with the bollards and the overhang? I am concerned because I don't see with that hotel that a person walking out of the library and wanting to go to the intermodal, or coming from the library and wanting to go to, so show me where are the bollards?
The library and the intermodal aren't on that drawing.
Excuse me? Where are I'm looking at a different drawing, but what are the bollards?
These circles.
A little circle.
And the overhang goes only as far as the bollards?
Yes.
And what are those little square things?
Those are tree boxes. Those are openings in the sidewalk.
So is there adequate width, according to ADA, between the bollards and the tree boxes?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, and the area between the bollards and the street is not under the overhang. Is that correct?
Correct.
Because I don't want any pedestrian to feel intimidated from walking along there. And I was also concerned that I heard Mr. Kissel say a park was promised, and the lawyer say, well, it wasn't really a park, it was green space, and code enforcement is responsible for enforcing it. And sorry, but it's too bad. Green space is going to be what you get, because a park was promised. We have lost so much along the bayfront, and I feel like Scott is nickel and diming us on what they did promise. And with all the money they are getting from the city and the state, that they cannot provide a park is really offensive. But I am confused that some of the things going on, why are we rushing these things through when the city just started a bayfront plan? It would be nice if, like the marketplace, that this hotel could incorporate the same sorts of bird-friendly glass that the marketplace is incorporating, and hopefully that Scott Enterprises will be getting a letter about that soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, one more thing. As far as the four-way stop, if it's current traffic counts, that's not realistic, because there's going to be a lot more traffic there after the hotel is built. And the whole point is there is no uncontrolled crossing, even with the overpass, for any pedestrian who is visually impaired, who wants to get across from one side of Front Street to the other. And a four-way stop should be put in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second to grant final approval or recommend. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition?
Nay.
One nay, and I abstain. Thank you. The motion carries.
Thank you all for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Okay, huh? Yeah. There is no rezoning, no conditional use related items, no historic property nominations. Nothing on Saldo.
Yes, we have one item for saldo amendments. The round of amendments that were approved a few months ago, there were some questions about traffic impact studies and the language that was included there. So we have that language again for you, and Leanne is here to answer questions about traffic impact studies if you have any.
Okay, so they will be included. Thank you. How about, are there any questions on that before we proceed on? Bureau of Planning and
Just
Zoning
clarify,
update.
there's no action on this today, or can we table this so we have some time to review it further and perhaps, to the point earlier, some broader discussion on the traffic topic? Okay. Can I motion to table this for further discussion in the next meeting?
I'll second.
Motion and a second to table the consideration of the saldo to the next meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposition? There is none. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Saldo and zoning no, wrong one, sorry. Bureau of Planning and Zoning updates.
I only have two items. One is we are looking at training for Planning Commission as well as Zoning Hearing Board. Hope to have something to you in the next meeting. We're actively working on the zoning amendments. These saldo amendments, the saldo amendments that you passed and recommended to City Council will be on agenda for September 2nd. Or I'm sorry, September 2nd. I think it's September 2nd. The next round will be focused on zoning ordinance amendments. We have many, so we need to get that to you in advance so that you can review that. We'll have Matthew Puz, the Chief Zoning Officer, here to discuss those amendments with you. We'll also have Matthew Falcone because there's amendments to Article 7, and then Cooper and I will take some of the other amendments, and possibly Troy Truatt from Michael Baker. We'll probably have him here as well since he's been working on those. I also wanted to just say thank you to the planning commissioners for your support through the parks planning process. Also wanted to thank the Bureau of Parks and Rec, the Public Works, the Planning Department, Planning and Zoning, my staff who worked very hard on this project, and the administration for getting it through the final stages and hopefully through adoption. So we are actively working right now on recommendations with the Parks Plan. We're working on ordinance language, working on framework internally, prioritizing some projects. So we are full steam ahead with this plan. Matthew Falcone, who was here, who came to City Hall as our historic preservation planner, now is his title is now Cultural Resource Manager. So he will be leading anything related to Parks Plan, historic preservation, still the historic preservation, parks planning, open space planning, and trees. So with Matthew's help, he will be the one leading this plan, which is excellent because we do need a champion internally to keep driving this forward. So thank you for your support, and we'll see what's next.
Thank you.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you all.